Welcome to Legal, and the Coach, a show set to present local and national trailblazers in business and celebrity circles like authors and speakers who will share their stories, struggles, adventures in life, and keys to their success, brought to you by Tough Talk Radio Network. Here are your hosts, David Altenburn and Brian Kaiser.
Welcome, friends, family, listeners from around the world to the first airing of Legal, and the Coach. I am Brian Kaiser. I'm the face of Growth Coaching Systems Network, more commonly known here in the studios as the Coach. My co-host, good friend, and partner in crime, Mr. David Altenburn of Altenburn and Associates. Attorneys at law is the Legal Eagle, and we welcome you and look forward to serving you with integrity and spirit. It is the first show, so we need to make an impression, right? We need to probably say some cool, inspiring, and motivating things, right? Wow, Legal Eagle, I can't believe the day's come and we're finally on the air and this is live. So, how to kick off this show? I mean, I've already stated that we will be providing cool, inspiring, and motivating things by the information and guests we have lined up. Our entire concept of this show, due to our common interests, goals, and business, is to provide a Mike and Mike style show for entrepreneurs. So how do you kick that off? I will say this, all of you listening should have been flies on the wall and have seen the back and forth with our producer, the legendary Tony Gambone, as we put together what I feel, as the Coach, an awesome way to kick off the show. As I mentioned, we have guests that will be visiting the show. I don't want to have anyone worried or concerned that today, the first show, we would do anything less than bring on a rock star. He is the host of Creating Business Harmony, certified professional coach, and an awesome all-around guy, great friend of both the Legal Eagle and myself, owner of Calderwood Coaching, LLC, Mr. Mike Calderwood, and he will be joining us later in the show. Whoa, a superstar on the first show. Can't believe it. So I'm going to kick this off. We did our best to figure this out, and we decided the best introduction was to introduce ourselves. So I'm going to be turning over the mic to the Legal Eagle, Mr. David Altenburn, for him to give us a 2 to 3 minute introduction on who he is and why on earth he joined up with this loudmouth, fast-talking professional coach to develop a radio program. I'll return to finish out the monologue segment and tell you who I am. But right now, David, tell the world who you are.
Thank you so much, Brian. Like you say, it's about time. It's our first show. It's game time to start with Legal Eagle and the Coach. I'm an attorney here in the Houston area with a law practice that helps people every day on personal injury, business law, and family law matters. I'm so excited to do this show because we're going to bring in speakers, authors, celebrities, business leaders to share with our audience, to give back to our community the tips for success, the secrets of success that people have learned over the years. And we start with a great business coach in Mike Calderwood of Thrive Business Centers. He helps businesses thrive, and he's going to talk about that today. But, I mean, basically, we're going to try to take people to their own individual promised land, if you will. I mean, life's about happiness. Life isn't just about success and dollars and cents. Life is about making a difference in people's lives. And we're hoping with this show to give out that kind of valuable information on a weekly basis. It'll be noon to 1 o'clock every Wednesday, from here to eternity, if it all works the way we want it to work. So I'm very, very excited. I'm very excited to finally kick off. And you are correct. We are working with a legendary producer. Tony Gambone is a pioneer in internet radio programs just like this. And his Tough Talk network is a growing network in the Houston area, and it's going to go national. So let's kick off our show, and we're going to have fun. We're going to educate. We're going to entertain. We're going to have a great time. And can't wait to get started. Brian, now please tell us a little more about yourself and your take on why we're doing this show.
Oh, thanks, Dave. Wanted to do a show, and we looked at, bounced it around a little bit with several different people. My background is in professional coaching. I've coached professionally in men's gymnastics, also in the health and fitness world, where I've created several different IFBB pros and fitness figure bikini model competitor people. So along with that, I've moved over to the business world, and I started building businesses the same way I built athletes, and found out that I had a knack for being a connector. So I've enjoyed a little bit of a journey over the last 2 years of discovering myself, and my coach, one of my coaches, Dennis Magoo, he kept telling me from almost the time he met me that, you really have this gift of bringing people together. You have this gift of, being able to connect the dots, usually before anyone else connects the dots. And I said, well, that's because, 27 years in developing people, especially young athletes to, mature and elite pro athletes, you get kind of a knack for judging where they are. So when we put together the show, David and I wanted to do something fun. We wanted to do something inspiring. We wanted to bring on people that had run a lot of miles, had fallen on their face and done, everything wrong to learn how to do everything right. And as we bring the show together, we're going to be bringing on other very impressive guests that will show us and share their journeys. And through that, people can, you can call in and talk to the Legal Eagle, ask questions about the topics that are discussed on the show. You can ask me about topics that are discussed on the show. But basically, we just put a show together to have fun, to educate, entertain, and be the Mike and Mike for entrepreneurs. That was the long and the short of what we're doing. So I think that we're getting ready for the first commercial break. So I want to go back and talk a little bit about my good friend Mike Calderwood. As I mentioned in the short monologue that I did, Mike is a host of another radio show on this network that you can hear, Creating Business Harmony. He's also a professional coach, and I've been honored to have him help me several times personally on my journey to getting to become the face and world's greatest connector and frontman for Growth Coaching Systems Network. And now, sharing the stage with my good friend David Altenburn to do Legal Eagle and the Coach. So we'll be bringing Mike out here after commercial break, and I have a few questions for Mike. We want to hear about his journey. Like I said, the people we're bringing on, they've already run a lot of miles. They have a lot under their belt, both in failure and in success, and we want to learn from both of them. So I believe we're heading into commercial break. So when we return, we'll bring on Mike Calderwood.
Are you one of those people who deal with issues that life throws at you on a daily basis? Then you need to tune into Life's Issues to hear Lloyd Rosen get the answers to those nagging problems. Begin to turn your life into that positive journey you've always wanted. You've always had the ability. Now get the information to complete the journey. Tune in every Thursday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Central Time to hear Lloyd ask the questions that get the answers you are looking for. Lloyd wants to help those that are dealing with life's issues. Check out Lloyd's blog at lloydrosen.com for more information about daily problems.
Live at Choice, where your imagination becomes your reality. If you can imagine it, it's possible. If you can believe it, it's yours. We get it. You're done with the way it is now. You're finished with all the frustration around why you feel stuck and your life isn't working. Imagine what your life would be like if you could have all the answers and see new possibilities. We at Live at Choice choose to make a difference. Live at Choice has developed a proven process and a series of questions that lead participants to the answers they seek, gaining new understanding and self-awareness for both your personal and professional life. If you're ready to get to the life you want, contact us today. Visit liveatchoice.com to get started.
Did you know that an estimated 52 million Americans listened to Internet radio in the last month, or that weekly Internet radio audience has increased 60% over the last year, and that more than 8 in 10 people are online from any location? Tough Talk Radio Network is a company dedicated to providing a platform that allows opportunities for guests, hosts, and sponsors to market themselves to the Internet radio medium, where they can be heard by millions. To find out how Tough Talk Radio Network can help you, go to toughtalkradionetwork.com.
All right, welcome back. As promised, bringing on a superstar and a really great guy, owner of Calderwood Coaching, LLC. Mike, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, we are honored
Welcome.
that you were the first guest. We really, when we sat down and figured out this show, and the first one that popped to our mind was we have to have Mike come on the first show. So we're honored to have you here, and we know you pretty well, but we'd like you to take 2 minutes and just kind of let our listeners and the world know who is Mike Calderwood and what is the journey that you've been on to get to where you are now.
Excellent. I'd love to answer that. But first, I'm going to tell you guys and tell the listeners, I'm honored to be your first guest. You guys are going to rock this radio show. I know both of you personally. This thing is going to blow up, and I'm going to be able to say, way back when they first started, I was the first guest, right? And from here, it's only going to get better for you guys. So, yeah, you are starting with me, and I love it, and I appreciate it. So I am Mike Calderwood. I am a business coach, but you guys want to know about my journey. And, it's kind of interesting because over the years, I've built a lot of businesses, but I grew up in an area where it wasn't really promoted to go do your own thing. You kind of conformed. You went to school, you behaved, you got a good job, and you worked. And that was the model I grew up around, very blue-collar, party on the weekends, work during the week. And but I always had a dream of being a rock star. You guys know this story from the book, but after I was able to kind of release myself from the blue-collar world and move out on my own and find my way a little bit, my entrepreneurial juices really started to flow. And in 1994, I started my first business. And it's been a journey since then. Like you guys said, and I love that statement in your monologue of you're going to have guests on the air that have failed, you're going to have guests on the air that have succeeded, and you're going to learn from both. Well, I've actually done both, and I've done them very well. I can fail with the best of them.
Then we're
You're
good
always
company.
so humble, but your successes are so much greater.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I can write you a book on how not to do it. I'm not sure too many people are going to buy that book. So that's kind of the journey. I've built multiple businesses in multiple different industries and multiple different models. I've been a solopreneur. I've been in LLCs with partners. I've worked side by side with my wife in some businesses. And it wasn't until a geographic relocation with my wife's corporate job that gave me the opportunity to kind of look at my past and make some real decisions on what I wanted to do to impact the world. And that's when I decided to, instead of build a brand that just served me or a remedial product or service, I decided to build a brand that would help others gain knowledge and have a better chance of succeeding through my own experience.
All right. Well, Mike, this is David Altenburn, the Legal Eagle here, and our listeners maybe don't have experience with business coaches. And, as a lawyer being in business for many years, I've heard, business coach is needed when somebody starts out a business or someone's failing or burned out. I've heard you speak many times and you talk about those things, or someone maybe is very successful and they just don't know how to get to the next level. They started their business, they founded their business. So can you give us a little education on kind of the services a business coach can give someone and what state of life or business a person would be in that you think is best suited to work with a business coach?
Excellent. So I'm going to answer the second question first because it's easier. Any state of business can use a business coach. You could be as successful as possible, and a business coach might be able to help you even more. You could be struggling completely, and a business coach can help you. The key is finding the right coach for the right situation.
Excellent.
The first part of that question was, what to kind of expect from the business coach.
Sure.
And I think one of the biggest keys about business coaching and where people have a hard time really understanding the value is most business coaches have experience and have been where you've been. But the big difference now is we're not perfect. Business coaches are not perfect, and if they tell you they are, they're lying. Run, find a different coach. But I think the big difference between where you're at and where we've been is we can now approach your situation objectively. We are not emotionally involved with your business. What makes business building so difficult is the emotional attachment that a business owner has to the business. It clouds their judgment, and it makes them not be able to take that 30,000-foot view, overlook, and really look at what's working well and what's not. Now, that's my terminology. You could talk to a million different coaches. They'll say it a bunch of different ways. But the key is, if you were to hire me or hire Brian or hire Dennis Magoo or whoever, the first thing we're going to do with you is try to dig into what's working well in your business and what's not. And we're going to do that by taking an overview look from an objective standpoint. And that's something, as a business owner, it's really hard to do on your own.
Great points, Mike. Thank you so much. And my co-host probably follows with the next question.
Oh, yeah. You know, Mike, you nailed it on the head. And there's something you said in your intro there and telling people about your journey that I have a little bit in my past of this too, is that you grew up in an area where you were basically taught to conform, where striving to do something out of the norm or outside the box or get out there and actually learn the values of competition and learn how, to interact and build something on your own wasn't promoted. It just wasn't. And people probably did the same thing to you they did to me and told you, well, that's just not for everyone. Everyone can't do that. And you found out that that's not exactly true. So can you expand on your experience with that? Because I think a lot of people that are stuck, that are probably listening to the show, they're stuck in their business, stuck in their life, stuck in their relationships, kind of grew up in a similar situation because it seems to be a trend. And how did that experience help you and help you still today in helping people?
Sure. So that's a really good question. And it actually, I think there's so many layers to it that we couldn't even cover it all today, but I think we can simplify it with a couple things. First, I'll kind of give a funny example. Go to a high school in the area that you live in today, and when they're heading into the end of the year, they always do career day stuff up on the walls. Right? You can go into any gym and there's stuff posted everywhere. Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be a firefighter? Do you want to be a nurse? All these things, right? But rock star and actor are never on that list.
So true, but
really?
Wouldn't we all love to be there someday, right?
Right. But the challenge is this. See, somebody else's, and this is the real answer to the question. That was a little bit of a silly example, but going back to my past, and what you're talking about is I wanted to be a rock star, and nobody saw that as realistic. And I adapted that mindset of realistic. But I never questioned, and actually another one of the Tough Talk radio hosts who interviewed me a few months back said this perfectly. He goes, well, realistic to who? Right? Because at one time it wasn't realistic. It is a great question. At one time, it wasn't realistic that you could walk into a room and hit a switch and lights come on. But thank goodness Edison wasn't thinking realistically.
True.
At one point, there was no flying vehicles, but thank goodness the Wright brothers thinking realistically.
Yeah,
so
great
realistic is in the mind of the beholder. But see, when you're formed and shaped a certain way, actually that realistic, quote-unquote, realistic thinking, it was hard to overcome because as I started my first businesses, that kept creeping in for me. Hey, is what I'm doing really realistic? Am I ever going to be able to do this? I mean, I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree. I got kicked out of high school. I had to go get a fake degree because I got in too much trouble partying like a rock star that I wasn't.
But
right?
now look at you now. I mean, you've come a long way, as they say in the Virginia Slims commercials of years past.
That's right. So that programming, so if I could give any piece of advice to parents out there or what have you, is be careful of the programming that you're giving your kids. Don't let your limiting beliefs become their limiting beliefs.
That's a great point. I just got back from the Roosevelt Hotel out in Hollywood, where I was at the 5th Annual Best-Selling Authors Summit. And, Mike, I know you're a best-selling author as well. But one of the big things is Peter Diamandis spoke, and he's an amazing guy, the guy that's behind the X Factor, who dreamed big. And he talked about so many statistics about all these businesses. In the 1920s, the average time on the Fortune 500 list was 67 years. Now it's 15. I mean, the speed with which there's change. So I want you to address a little bit. It seems to me that a business coach is particularly important. Not, you talk about the objective analytics. That's very important, but also on the adaptability that's necessary in today's technology age, information age, digital age. Can you address some on how business coaches can help successful people on staying ahead of the curve?
Sure, absolutely. I look at it like this, and you can use a couple different examples. I like using the example of a high-performing automobile or an athlete, right? And so we'll go with athlete. In your body has multiple components that all need to work together, okay? You have a vascular system, a muscular system, a skeletal system, a nervous system, all these things. And for a athlete to be at peak performance, all those things have to be individually tuned at each stage of the development of that athlete. And if they're not, then the body is out of harmony and it can't perform at its best. And even worse, if something's really out of harmony, the body could break down altogether, right? So a good business coach is going to help you look at, as your business evolves through natural stages, he's going to help you look, or she's going to help you look at certain business components that all need to work together for your
great
business
point.
to run in harmony.
And just an observation, you never see a great athlete that doesn't have usually trainers, and so they're at the peak of their abilities in their sport, and yet they still have coaches and trainers. And you're making these analogies that the audience out here hopefully can relate to, that, to get you jump-started, you need a coach. Once you get started or you're very successful, you also need a coach. You need the right coach. So,
absolutely. And you would ask about like technology and stuff in there too. While your coach might not be an expert at everything, he's going to help you plan and put together those pieces. And technology is going to be one of those factors. You want your business to have some kind of backbone operating system depending on the business model. Technology is going to be a factor. They might not be an expert in that, but they're going to help you plan and recognize that. And that's just one of those key facets of all the components that need to be working together.
Very good. Brian, you got another question for our guest today?
I do. I just want to build a little bit more on where Mike was going with who would need a coach and all of that. Mike knows that my lot in life is to be the world's greatest connector and frontman for a large network of, coaches, mentors, spiritual leaders, and done-for-you service providers, and connecting people to the right one of those people that they need. And I think that when people are looking to choose a coach, one of the analytics or analysis that I use in helping people with that is knowing the coach and knowing if they're staying up on education. And I know Mike is really big on education. He and I have talked about the things we've been studying, the things we're learning from other coaches, the things we're getting from even common people that aren't coaches, but they're giving us good information that we can use. And Mike, when people are choosing that coach, or in some instances at a certain level of business you have 3 or 4 or 5 different coaches like an elite athlete would, what are the things that you prescribe to your clients or prospects that would kind of push it over them to engage and build a relationship with you where you can actually help them? What are those characteristics that you look for if you're going to, you got them to a certain level, but they need some expertise over here? What is the criteria for that you look for recommending that other coach? Excellent.
So first of all, and I think I understand this question, so if I get off track here, kick me in the butt, and we'll come back around to it.
Well, that's hard to do over internet radio, but we'll do our best.
We'll get the right technology, right? So I think what you're asking is, is not everybody is ready for a coach, and some are. What makes them ready for a coach? What makes them coachable to a certain degree? I would say a few things. One is they have to be somewhat leadership-centric. If you're just managing, you ever talk to those people, how's your day? I'm managing. If managing doesn't work. You need to lead your life. You need to lead your business. Your business, as a business owner, you have a responsibility to lead your business into the future. Managing the day-to-day is not being a business owner. That's being an employee of yourself.
Great point.
So leadership is first. Growth-oriented is second. And let me give you an example. And there's a real story just happened recently. About 3 months ago, a guy called me up. He was referred by another coach. And I said, well, why aren't you working with that coach? That coach isn't taking on new clients. He referred me to you. Now, this other coach was a good friend of mine. Just couldn't take on any clients. So I said, okay, so what's the problem? Why are you calling? He said, well, I've got a small remodeling business. We do about $300,000 a year in sales. I do all the work myself. Sometimes I'll have some subcontractors, and I have an assistant that helps keep everything organized and does all the back-end stuff. At the end of the day, I make about $130,000 a year, and I'm pretty happy with that. And I said, so what's the problem? He goes, I'm working 80 hours a week. So I had to get to the real problem. The real problem was, yeah, he's working 80 hours a week, but he's got a grandkid on the way too, and it's an internal value struggle for him to work so much. So I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to build my business in a way that I can still make great money but not have to work so much. I said, okay, well, the first step for that is to duplicate yourself. And he says to me, oh, well, we can't do that. I'm the best at what I do. Nobody will ever be able to come in and do what I do as well as I do it. And I said, hey, thanks for the call. I got to go. Enjoy your job. And I hung up.
You got to learn to delegate. Can't do it all.
Yep. He emails me later, and he puts an explicit word in the title, and he goes, "Oh, you're right, and I'm scared to death." What are the first steps, right?
No, he's receptive. That's a good email or contact.
The key to this was you have to be growth oriented. If you're not growth oriented, then there's no reason to hire a coach because you're never going to do what they say. And then the other thing that you've got to be able to do is focus on a system. So there's a lot of systems out there. There's a lot of coaches doing the same thing to a certain degree, but different ways. And if you're a program junkie, one of these people that, I'm going to go to this weekend seminar and get as much information as I can and try to make my business fit that, and then I'm going to go to this, and then I'm going to hire this coach, it doesn't work. You have to pick a route. You have to go with it. And then any other additional information that you get, you've got to make that fit your model. And if it doesn't fit, you throw it away. But
like they say, you got to make a plan and then work your plan.
Absolutely. So, Brian, did that answer your question, or was I way out of whack there?
No, that was perfect.
That's great. And Mike, kind of along the same lines, but a little different focus here, because I have heard you speak, and one of the things that you like to say in your introduction a lot is, Mike Calderwood, Thrive Business Centers, we can teach you proven methods, to success. And you've talked a little bit earlier about the objective analytics, and there are different parts to those analytics. If you could summarize, I know you sometimes say there's 5 or 6 different things you look at, whether it's operations or marketing or things like that. If you broke down the parts that you're doing your analytics for your clients, could you give us a summary for our audience today on how you help them on those analytics?
Sure. So I think there's really two questions buried in there because you asked about the proven method.
Well, the lawyer in me, I've always got to throw an extra question in here and there.
Yeah, no problem. Stacking questions. If you stack the questions, I'll stack the answers. We can work together. So to answer your question first, the proven methods. Real simply put, 95% of what makes one business run well is what makes every business run well. Mm-hmm. Here's the difference, and this answers your second question. How it's applied changes from model to model, but the principles are universal.
Okay.
So proven methods are the principles. How they're applied changes from model to model. So what I do with people is I sit down and I start with kind of a Q&A assessment. What's working well? How strong are you in sales? Rate yourself. How are your sales now? If you could improve your sales, what would that look like? Then we're going to move on to marketing. We're going to look at their products and services. We're going to look at their systems and their technology that they're using to function their business. We're going to look at their team. We're going to look at their mindset. We're going to look at their customer service. We're going to look at their leadership and their communication style. So it's kind of all-encompassing.
Now, that's awesome stuff, Mike. Awesome.
That doesn't make me an expert at each one of those. I'm a generalist in some areas. I'm an expert in some areas. But if we find out that marketing's an issue, I'll connect him with the right marketing person in my network to come in and help with that.
We're back to Brian Kaiser and being great connectors. Coaches are great connectors.
Coaches are great connectors. Mike, we're gonna break for a short pause for the cause, if you will. We're gonna go to commercial break. Can you stay with us? We're gonna do one more segment. Come back with Mike Calderwood right after the commercials here on Legal Eagle and the Coach.
I'll be here.
Do you want to know the secret to building a successful business quickly? It's all about taking action, but not just any action. It takes inspired and consistent action to get profits. Join Michelle Sissom, the six-figure results lady, as she asks successful entrepreneurs their profitable secrets every Monday at 2 p.m. Central Time on Take Action, Get Profits with Michelle Sissom on the Tough Talk Radio Network. If you're ready to take action and get profits, you can find out more about the show at takeactiongetprofitsradio.com.
Live at Choice, where your imagination becomes your reality. If you can imagine it, it's possible. If you can believe it, it's yours. We get it. You're done with the way it is now. You're finished with all the frustration around why you feel stuck and your life isn't working. Imagine what your life would be like if you could have all the answers and see new possibilities. We at Live at Choice choose to make a difference. Live at Choice has developed a proven process and a series of questions that lead participants to the answers they seek, gaining new understanding and self-awareness for both your personal and professional life. If you're ready to get to the life you want, contact us today. Visit liveatchoice.com to get started.
Did you know that an estimated 52 million Americans listened to Internet radio in the last month, or that weekly Internet radio audience has increased 60% over the last year, and that more than 8 in 10 people are online from any location? Tough Talk Radio Network is a company dedicated to providing a platform that allows opportunities for guests, hosts, and sponsors to market themselves to the Internet radio medium, where they can be heard by millions. To find out how Tough Talk Radio Network can help you, go to toughtalkradionetwork.com.
Hello, we're back now with Mike Calderwood of Thrive Business Centers. Mike, you've done a great job of letting our audience know who can benefit from a business coach and kind of some of the analytics objectively that you put to the table when you are retained to assist somebody in their business. Before we get off the show, I'd like to make sure here as a co-host that you have your opportunity to talk about what we know about you as far as being a best-selling author, as far as having your own radio show, and the contact information that someone can reach to you for assistance, whether that's your website, phone numbers, whatever you're comfortable giving out to our audience.
Awesome. So we'll start with my Social Security number.
No. Big Brother's watching. Big Brother's watching. No, and kind of maybe give us an idea where Mike Calderwood's going from here, where you're involved with networking groups, that sort of thing. Speaking.
Sure. So, in the big scale of things, there's a lot of coaches out there, and I hate to say it this way, but coaches are a dime a dozen, and good ones are hard to find. And I really strive to continue to improve my business, my model. I have a business coach. I coach other coaches. So I'm in the world of coaching. I'm not just a self-proclaimed coach. I'm not just, doing that type of thing. And
it's your full-time thing.
This is what I do, and I make a really nice living doing it, and I help other people make really nice livings with their business. I am, like you said, a best-selling author. David and I were in a collaboration book together. I know Brian's a best-selling author. He did a book with Brian Tracy. And being an author is fun. It's cool. I'm not in the book business. But I'll tell you what, one of the best ways I think that somebody can find inspiration and motivation in life or in business in general is to read a collaborative book that has multiple stories of failure, success, and overcoming adversity.
Isn't that so true? You really get some amazing stories that are behind people that put it out there on those type of books, the collaborative books like the one that we were lucky to be in with Tony Gambone behind it of Share Your Message with the World and all of that. So, tell us about that and your speaking and where you go from here.
So, just one more thing on the book, and that is you might pick up the book, and I recommend to the listeners you go grab a copy of the book. You can go to youwannabearockstar.com. You can get a copy there. And you'll read the book, and you might get to my chapter, and you might connect with me, and you might not, and that's okay. There's 27 other authors with 27 other stories, and I can guarantee you that one of these stories is going to meet you right where you're at today and give you some kind of hope, inspiration, no matter what your situation is.
Making a difference in someone's life, like we talked at the beginning, making differences in people's life. Exactly.
And then I do have my radio show. It airs every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. It's a very similar format to yours. I bring on different business experts from around the country, around the world. I've had people from Australia, Canada, you name it, come on and share their expertise with the listeners. My show is dedicated to more of a business education type platform. Sometimes they get off on little rants, but I try to provide some kind of business educational value to the listeners, and it is called Creating Business Harmony with Mike Calderwood. And the best way to actually find that is to go to toughtalkradionetwork.com and click on the list of shows, and you can see all the shows there. Selling a Skirt, Take Action, Get Profits, all those shows, your guys' show, Workshop Wednesdays with Tony Gambone. There's a list of them there, and I can almost guarantee that you'll find one that you'll love the format and fall in love with listening to.
What day and time is your show, Mike?
My show is Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time.
And then as far as networking group or speaking engagements, where does Mike Calderwood go from here? What's your future as you see?
So my future is going to entail more keynote speaking. I know I got a long way to go before I'm on stage with a Tony Robbins caliber of guy or a John Maxwell caliber guy, but the key is that I can provide value. I am dedicated to providing small business owners straightforward solutions to gaining a real advantage in their business. No fluff, no nothing. Straightforward, proven, successful approach for them to plan and operate their business. You can learn more about...
Awesome.
Thank you. You can learn more about me. You can connect directly with me. You can call me or text me at 832-746-7470. You can visit MikeCalderwood.net. I have a free report right on the homepage that you can grab. You just click on Get the Free Report Now. It's what every business owner needs to know, and it's a small piece of my proven formula. And there's no sales in this. You get the report, and there's just some straight, great information for you to understand how to model your business. And then if you go to my website and you click on the MBA program, you can become part of my MBA community, which is ongoing teleclasses and webinars that are available to all the MBA members, and they can go and check that out. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter. Just if you just Google Mike Calderwood, I come up. You'll find me. There's not a whole lot of us out there doing what I do.
Well, that's great, and I know personally from knowing you professionally and knowing you for a while, anybody that takes any of these avenues to connect with Mike Calderwood, it'd be one of the best moves you can make today to really push yourself forward and learn more. We're never too old to learn. Learn all you can at being successful in business. So Brian, what more questions do you have for our guest today?
I just want to squeeze in one more thing, and it's we've talked about what people would look for in a coach. We talked about why they would need a coach and what level of entrepreneur or business owner could benefit from a coach. And something that Mike and I actually talked about yesterday, which really hit home with me, is your return on investment of having a coach. And the fact that I want Mike just to touch on it in his words. I tell people this when I talk to them, when I sit down and have coffee with them, I tell them almost probably the exact thing Mike's going to say. But I think it's good if it comes from our guest, in his words. That way when I say it again, then it'll actually carry weight with some people maybe. But Mike, tell us a little bit about the return on investment and how the people need to look at that, maybe not exactly or only in dollars and cents, but in time, which you can never get more of. You can always make more money, but you can never get any more time. And
you mean we can't go in a time machine? We can't go in a time machine and create more time?
No, I'm sorry, Legal Eagle. Even you as the lawyer can't help us get that one.
We can turn black to white, but we can't make more time. I get it. Okay.
No, but I really think that would be a valuable thing, Mike, just to touch on for a minute or two, that return on investment of someone hiring a business coach like yourself.
Sure. So return on investment, it's a fancy word, and and we're taught it, and we feel cool saying it, and we feel like we have leverage in a sales conversation to say, what's my return on investment, right? And so first off, people need to understand the difference between an expense and an investment. Two different things, okay? An expense is, gas. An investment is something that builds you up or builds your business up for success, okay? So couple quick things, and Brian, you and I talked about this, and I think that in general we want to talk about return on investment mainly because we've probably been taken advantage of, or we're operating off a shoestring budget, and we don't know, we're not clear on where to put our money. So clarity is going to help understand a little bit better. But there's some tricky parts to this, and simply put, you don't just spend money on your business. You spend time, you spend energy, you invest your heart, your soul, your mind, your body, and everything, as well as money and everything else, okay? So it could be safe to assume that your return might show up in different ways other than money as well.
Great.
Okay? So what you invest and what you get back are not always going to be the same. If you hire a coach and he is able to give you clarity and confidence, there's no price for that. There's no monetary equality.
Maybe that's where MasterCard came up with that's priceless, because you're right.
Exactly.
Those are attributes that are totally needed in business, in life, in so many ways. And, that's an area where it seems a great point that a coach could be helpful to tell you what's not working, but to also tell you what's working, to get what's not working to work, and in the process of all of that, like you say, gain clarity and gain confidence.
Big time.
A great example for that would be, let's say I'm a small business owner, and I'm a pretty sharp guy, and I do my own taxes. I did them the first year in business, and this is my second year, but now I have an employee, I have workman's compensation insurance, all different kinds of things. The game's changed, right? So I'm doing my taxes at the end of the year. I bought TurboTax, or one of the popular brand softwares, and I'm punching all the information in, but I'm not 100% confident that I'm doing it right. So I say, you know what? I'm going to complete this, but I'm not going to submit it. I'm going to pay this CPA $1,000 and make sure that all this is correct, and see if he can even maybe get me more money back, right? And so in your mind, you're thinking, well, $1,000, I'm hoping I get more back because that would be a return on investment, right? But let's say you pay that $1,000, you give that all the paperwork to the CPA, and he comes back and he goes, nope, you did everything perfect. I can go ahead and stamp this with my CPA's approval and get this submitted for you. And you go, okay, great. The return on investment is peace of mind. The return on investment is knowing that you're not going to get audited now and that somebody else is an expert for the stamp of approval, but I got no direct monetary return on that investment.
Right.
Yeah, but at the same time, to say that doesn't have value is to miss reality, to miss the truth, because in the end of the day, in that example, there is great value that's given, you know, and yes, you do have confidence for doing the taxes the next year, pursuant to the same way, and maybe gaining that same peace of mind by getting them blessed by another CPA or the same CPA.
Yep.
So, well, great. Any other thoughts you have, Mike, that you just really would like to pass on to our listeners? This has been a great show with you. You've really enlightened us on how a business coach can help. But here's your opportunity now just to maybe throw some things out there that's not directly responsive to any question we've asked, but nevertheless, great value for our listeners.
Sure. So first is, as entrepreneurs, we put a lot of weight on our own shoulders. It's up to us, right? If it's to be, it's up to me. And I tell all the listeners out there, building a business is not going to be easy, but you don't have to do it alone. Find somebody that can help you, whether it's a business coach, a mentor, maybe it's a mastermind group of local business owners, and there's not even a monetary investment, just somewhere where you can go, have a sounding board, run ideas by, and learn from other people's experience. Maybe it is hiring a coach, whatever, but stop doing it alone. You don't have to do it alone, and I can tell you right now, your chances of success will increase greatly if you surround yourself with the right people, and that brings me to the second point. As a business owner, it's going to take a strong mindset. Much like your body, your mind needs a diet. What you put into it is what you get out of it. So I challenge you this. Who are you listening to? Who are you watching? Who are you reading? Who are you hanging out with? You'll have success and failures by association. If your mom and dad ever told you when you were a kid, you're guilty by association. Here, who you hang out with is going to have a huge impact on how much of a great entrepreneur you become.
And that last point seems to me in today's world, I'll sometimes say we live in an ADD society because this generation has so much information. You know, instead of 4 channels of television, there's 200 cable channels or direct TV channels. There's the internet. There's Google. We have a library at our fingertips. And so as any business owner, you're solicited by so many pieces of mail and communications through technology about marketing. The choices today are much greater. And so it seems to me kind of this last point of not having to do it alone and having a business coach is a great point, because that's where you have someone that has a wealth of connections and a wealth of experience on studying what works and how you can be successful. And how do you select on a cost versus benefit basis on how to market and advertise and promote your business? And, you know, what about direct networking? What's your thoughts there, Mike, as far as networking groups and ways that people can connect with other entrepreneurs?
Well, David, before Mike answers that, can I add to what you're saying a little bit?
Absolutely.
It goes back to part of what you're saying with people having so much information there and being able to get, you know, you can find information about anything you want. But I think if you go back to Mike's original intro there and telling about himself, how, you know, he grew up in a society where he told him to conform, where it wasn't there. And I think some of the things that a coach provides you, and you can kind of have a breakthrough in your life, your relationships, and your business, I think that you can really get that because the coaches that, at least the ones that I know and I associate with, are the ones that say, just because you won't doesn't mean I can't.
You know, one of the greatest commercials of all time, one of the greatest commercials, just a second interjection, apologize to interrupt, but the greatest commercial of all time to some and one of the greatest to many is the Apple commercial that is exactly on point about it's okay to be different. Dare to be different and dare to be great. Just because you're different doesn't mean, you're not going to be successful. It often is just the opposite.
Well, Mike, we have just a few seconds for you to address David's question. Just answer that, and then wrap up with one more time your contact information, how people can get with you. And we've got to go to one more commercial break right after you finish that answer. But appreciate you being on the show, and it's been an honor that you were our first guest. And I'll let you answer that question, and we'll go to the last commercial break, and then come back and finish out the show.
Excellent. What was the question?
Well, let me ask another, as a lawyer sometimes will do. The Legal Eagle here, David Altenburn. Mike, it really is just some finishing thoughts, and you had been giving us some great finishing thoughts about not having to go alone, that's one of the greatest benefits of a business coach is someone with knowledge and experience to assist you along the way. And so I want to go back to, that's not even a word, but I want to go back to the question of just any final thoughts you wish for our listeners that you think you can give value out there, the entrepreneurs that are listening, the people that have learned a lot on this show. Any final thoughts that maybe is not responsive to a specific question?
Sure. And I'm going to make this a little bit of a fun thought, and it's on something that you said. And I had mentioned, what are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you associating with? Okay, because you need that mental diet to be strong. Put good in, get good out, right? And you had said, there's thousands of channels on the TV. Hundreds. Yeah. You get a basic cable package, you got 150 channels. That's just basic cable, right?
Right.
But here's the thing. There's only one off button.
This is true.
It's just there's one off button. Hit it and pick up Think and Grow Rich. Hit that off button and pick up How to Win Friends and Influence People. Hit it and pick up a copy of Share Your Messages with the World and pick up a copy of Change Agents. It's a choice.
Sure. That's a great point. We have choices every day, and one of the things in my chapter that has prominence is just the serenity prayer and having the courage to go out and change the things in the world and make a difference with the people that we can, and having the wisdom to know those things that we can't change. A lot of people spend a lot of strife and anxiety and energy on things that they really can't change or affect. And if they can get their mindset focused with clarity, as you say, or Brian Tracy would say with focal analysis, where you really focus on what you want and what it takes to get there, working with a business coach can be the best decision you ever make in your life.
Well, Dave, our legendary producer, is telling us it's time for the commercial break, so we have to take a break. Mike, thanks once again for being on the show, and we look forward to talking to you again. And the Legal Eagle and I will come back after the break and finish out the show.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Are you feeling burnt out or lost on where to go or what to do next when it comes to your business? If you feel like you own a job instead of a business, or if your business is running you instead of you running it, we can help. The Thrive Business Center was created to educate and support small business owners. With a strategic approach and a proven method, we'll help you identify what is working well in your business and what is not. Then, together, we can establish an action plan with an implementation process so that your business can get back to thriving. For more information, go to thrivebusinesscenter.com. thrivebusinesscenter.com.
Are you an entrepreneur? Are you where you want to be? Do you believe that if you build it, they will come? Unfortunately, entrepreneurship doesn't work that way, and that's why you need to read Famous Isn't Enough. In this book, you'll find real-life situations and lessons learned. When all is said and done, there's nothing better than being your own boss. Remember, nothing just happens. You have to put in the work. Famous Isn't Enough is your roadmap. Get your copy today at www.famousisn'tenough.com.
Did you know that an estimated 52 million Americans listened to Internet radio in the last month, or that weekly Internet radio audience has increased 60% over the last year, and that more than 8 in 10 people are online from any location. Tough Talk Radio Network is a company dedicated to providing a platform that allows opportunities for guests, hosts, and sponsors to market themselves through the internet radio medium where they can be heard by millions. To find out how Tough Talk Radio Network can help you, go to toughtalkradionetwork.com.
All right, David, we did the first show. What do you think?
Well, it's kind of hard to believe, kind of surreal, but, you know, it was great to have a great guest in Mike Calderwood with Thrive Business Centers. It's been fun, and that's what we want to make it, you know. We often talk about, you know, have fun and make money. Mike taught us so much. He taught us that, you know, a business coach can basically do objective analytics out there, that we may be emotionally so close to our business that we may not see everything that needs to be seen. That
well, he also taught us about the return on investment with the business coach, too.
Whoa, did he open some people's minds that it's not all about the money. It's sometimes just the peace of mind. It's sometimes the clarity and confidence that you get that someone tells you what you're doing right, that it is
maybe
consistent.
That extra hour you get to spend with your family and your kiddos and your friends.
Well, something you said, my close friend and co-host, Brian Kaiser, the business coach here, is you talked about life, you talked about relationships, and you talk about business. You know, if you study all psychology, we all try to be all that we can be, you know, emotionally and spiritually and intellectually and physically, and we learn that it's all in balance and it all works together. But when you talk about life, relationships, and business, wow, it sure seems a business coach can help in all those areas.
Yeah, and, you know, that's, here at the GCS network, that's kind of the three buckets that we put people in: their health, their relationships, and their business and finances. That's Dennis Magoo. That's his model that he coaches on as a certified high-performance coach is those three buckets. And I know Mike shares a very similar psychology and methodology to his platform as well, because, you know, it all starts with you. And like we talked about, the mindset and, you know, getting the right people in your life, turning off the TV and getting, you know, picking up a book to you know, something that will engage your mind and cause you to grow, not just something that will take up your time and in a meaningless, you know, effortless way, but something you can actually grow with.
Well, something that was a takeaway for me in this show is, you know, the big points of you don't have to do it alone, and it's probably best that you don't do it alone. The big mindset that, you know, basically you got to look at things like leadership and leadership style, but basically, you know, we all know that business is built on the principal foundations of know, like, and trust. And to have a confidant like a great business coach, one that you personally select, one that you relate to, one that seems to care about you and seems to care about your business and can really get you to focus in on these areas, it's so great, it seems to me, that people can have someone like that. And Brian, being a business coach yourself, you've got to get great satisfaction when you make a difference in people's lives that way.
Oh, it's remarkable. You know, I got that when I was coaching athletes, seeing them attain their goals, seeing them achieve those things that we worked so hard and they'd given up so much. And, you know, I when I speak and when I do different things, I tell people, you know, the glamour in winning isn't the person on the red carpet with the lights and the cameras and the big smile going, yeah, it's me, look at me. Instead, it's the person that's on the field and they probably made themselves sick because they gave everything they had to achieve a goal, whether it was at the Olympic Games, in the NFL. You know, you can just go down the list of any sport or anything in life, and it's the same way in business. And, you know, if you look at those buckets that way, what is it going to take for me to succeed with my health? What is it going to take for me to succeed with my relationships with my wife and my family? And what is it going to take for me to succeed with my business? And then work on balancing all of those where they all grow together. I think that's the real – that's when you just sit back as a business coach and you say, wow. And Mike, I connected them to the right people, and they got the best next step in their business.
And that's great. And as a lawyer, if you really want to do the best for your client, you're always talking about, I talk about often with people, quiet confidence, kind of some things you were kind of not exactly saying, but kind of talking about the athlete. It's not about the showboating and the big stage. It's about having the quiet confidence in these ways, and a business coach can help so much. And, we like to talk, we work hard for the justice our clients deserve, and we earn client trust and opponent respect one case at a time. But really what it's all about is education and counseling. So with our first show, it's so exciting to come to the end of this and to know that hopefully we touch some people's lives out there with our great guest, Mike Calderwood.
You have been listening to Legal and the Coach with David Altenburn and Brian Kaiser on the Tough Talk Radio Network. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. If you'd like to be a sponsor or a guest, visit toughtalkradionetwork.com.